Hey guys, and welcome to DC Night of Utah Remote Con. I know that's very confusing because I'm wearing an Iron Man shirt, but these are the hands that we were dealt, and that's okay. Because, we're going to talk about Snyder Cut in a minute, and, in my opinion, it was okay. But we'll see what our panelists have to say in a minute. So, Utah Remote Con 2. We are supporting the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. We are just so close of $1,000. We need $75 more in order to be able to hit that. So if you guys are able to, please make sure to go to givebutter.com/Utah RemoteCon 2. I'll put the link in the comments in a minute here. And please donate, help us reach that next goal so we can then hit our other ones as we go throughout the rest of this week. For this panel, we are doing a raffle prize, which is a Batman and Superman bobblehead. So make sure to get in your guys' raffle tickets before then. I know some of our panelists just did that as well, so make sure you get ahead of them. And without further ado, let's bring in the moderator of today's panel, Blake from the Let Us In.
How's it going, guys?
Blake. And if you want to just introduce all your lovely panelists and we'll get started.
So I'll just introduce myself first and then we can go in clockwise. That's hard to do. Motion, and you guys can tell us who you are and what you're representing. So I'm Blake. I am from the Let Us In podcast, which is a TTRPG tabletop role-playing game podcast. We just finished our first season, and our second season starts in beginning of June, I think. We have a lot of fun. Come hang out with us. Come listen. Part of the Stolen Droids family. That's pretty much it. So we'll go to Steve and Izzy now.
Hey, everybody. I'm Steve.
And I'm Izzy.
And we're with Everything I Learned from Movies. And we talk about bad to questionable movies. Does the Snyder Cut of Justice League apply? Let's find out.
We also drink good beers.
In tiki glasses. Hey.
Classy.
See, I couldn't have introduced you guys the way you just did that. So that was perfect. We'll go to Ian next.
Hi, I'm Ian. I'm with It Was a Shit Show. We are a YouTube series / podcast series that dives into troubled productions for films and TV. I do a breakdown for YouTube, and then we also have the conversational podcast where we get to razz the stupid shit that goes down on movies and TV sets.
Sweet. And then Tracy?
Tracy with Movies That Make Us here on the Stolen Droids Network with Jake Dietz and Valerie Cameron.
Perfect. And then Robert?
Hi, Robert. I'm Instagrammer on Action Figure Theater, and I have some opinions about some Zack Snyder movies that I want to share.
Perfect. And then Collin, did you want to introduce yourself in any way?
Yeah.
Or
I'm Collin, Stolen Droids podcast. We're a pop culture podcast for your pocket.
Kind of a big deal.
Collin, by the way, I just want to say I love your shirt, and I thought it was like a little bikini when I first saw it.
Yeah,
so.
He did. He was like, is that like Wonder Woman in a bikini?
Yeah, it's like some sort of like anime thing going on, and I was like, oh wait, I got it now.
But I mean, you gotta kind of raise it
up. Yeah. Once I saw the mouth.
You totally see how you thought that was a bikini.
It's a bikini and a chastity belt. I see it.
Let it go.
you like really wore the wrong shirt. Just all together.
So right now.
Did you do the whole down like that? Just like that?
I don't even feel bad for you. So weird. Sweet. All right. So
eyes are up here.
My name's Blake again. I'm the moderator for tonight. I did some research for this movie, quote unquote research. I read a couple articles that I wanted to discuss with you guys first. And then we can delve into our thoughts as to whether or not we think this is a good movie. So first we're going to talk about why this movie happened, meaning the Snyder Cut, not just Justice League, how that came to be, and then whether or not it was successful. Okay. So let's see if I can computer and see if I can. Nope, not that one.
That's me.
There we go. Aha!
Izzy.
Ooh.
Hi guys, I made a PowerPoint for this.
Dude, you're so fancy.
Ooh.
So
Nice.
professional.
I went and like I said, I read some couple articles and I didn't want to just sit here and read them. So I got the quotes that I thought were good, and then I'll read them to you guys and we can talk about them.
Want to
So-
make us read it? I see.
Exactly.
It's a test.
So why did this movie happen?
Cha-ching.
In an NBC News article, it says he, meaning Zack Snyder, told the Los Angeles Times recently that he and his wife, the producer Deborah Snyder, left the project because they had lost the energy to fight the studio over creative differences 2 months after their 20-year-old daughter Autumn died by suicide. So there was a tragic event. I didn't know this, but obviously there was already creative differences happening with the director and
Yeah, that was in a Vanity Fair article where he kind of broke it down and talked a lot about what that actually was. And that's when it was at the 4-hour mark. And when he was fighting with Warner Brothers about bringing it down, and he was like, I'm done. I'm out. And that's when he left.
Dude, Ian, I'm so happy you're here because I knew you would know this stuff. Also, this comment is hysterical. Shouldn't the slides be in 4:3?
Yes.
Brilliant. Just spot on. Okay, anyways, continuing. The article goes on to say the studio, okay, obviously, Joss Whedon then finished the movie. It came out. Nobody liked it, not even the fans. Then 4-ish years later, the studio didn't just commit to release the Snyder Cut of the movie on HBO Max. It was reported to have gotten a $70 million infusion to allow Snyder to get the unfinished effects shots into fighting shape for its streaming service debut. So obviously that's a huge chunk of money. How on earth did that happen? Well, it's the direct result of a fan movement launched over disgust with the theatrical release. It wasn't just on social media. A plane was rented to tow a #release the Snyder Cut banner over the Warner Brothers lot, and a billboard was even rented in Times Square. In the process of people campaigning for this, fans were able to raise more than $600,000 for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, according to the charity, a gesture of support in the wake of the Snyder's family tragedy. I didn't know about that. I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. The highlight for me is the money they were able to raise for suicide prevention. Snyder said, people's lives have been saved by the money they raised. That is just a fact. However, there's also been a more insidious subplot to this hero's journey saga, a subset of the movement that has aggressively trolled critics who don't regard Snyder's films as reverentially as they do. Any fandom can be unhealthily obsessed from time to time, and almost all fandoms have at least a small toxic contingent in them, said Alicia Grauso, a veteran movie journalist. The difference with the Snyder fandom is that the toxic contingent tends to be louder, more stringent, and less forgiving than other fandoms.
She's never met Star Wars fans, has she?
Obviously
That's
not.
what I was gonna say. Or Star Trek fans.
The article goes on to say comic book editor Heather Antos has occasionally been hit hard on Twitter by that contingent. She, I guess, made a joke about a Zack Snyder movie, and a bunch of fans came at her with death threats and horrible comments and just awful things. And she says, I think what makes me so uncomfortable about everything is that Warner Brothers caved. They gave in to this harassment, she said. So what's going to happen the next time? The precedent has been set. If you would have asked me to bet 4 years ago, I would say there's no chance, Snyder said. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. This isn't a sequel or a reboot. It's a redo, a major victory for artistic expression, or a dangerous precedent of appeasing belligerents, depending on whom you ask. Either way, it's unprecedented in the history of cinema. So that brings us to the first kind of thing I wanted to talk about with you guys. Where do you guys fall on it? Is it a major victory for artistic expression, or do you guys think they caved and fans were awful and they got this movie to happen? What do you guys think?
It's not unprecedented because they did a recut of Highlander 2. You've got the original Highlander 2 that's unwatchable, and then you've got the Renegade cut, which is almost unwatchable.
Yeah.
Hey!
I mean,
Superman 2, yeah.
Recutting the movie.
Yep.
Yeah, here's a prime example if you don't want to go to Star Wars, because we've had the special edition, the super special edition, the super special secret edition of Star Wars, all the ones that have come out since 1990, whatever. That Lucas has been like, I'm going to retouch this. I'm going to retouch this. Greeter shoots first. Blah blah blah. So
Yeah,
it's not exactly unheard of.
I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't think that they caved into belligerent fans, but Warner Brothers thought that there was a chance to try and make more money.
Yeah.
This was a film that was already, pardon the phrase, the shit show before it got released, before Walt Snyder was working on it. And Warner Brothers was like, we're in no man's land. We have to get this movie out because we've already spent so much money, but we can't just like hide it and sit on it because it's such a big name movie. And then when all the fans of Snyder put pressure on him, they thought, well, maybe there's some money to be made there. And that's what drove the decision.
I think it's interesting. Maybe you guys can prove me wrong. I don't know as a film getting as much money to be redone as this one did.
Yeah.
You know, some movies, they release extended versions, they release things that they've already filmed. I don't know of a movie that's gotten $70 million to go redo it.
Especially
Wars?
when you have so many
Yeah, it's a big
mustaches
Star
to
Wars.
correct.
Am I wrong? Did Star Wars get that much?
I don't know I don't know.
Rogue One
It's also
got a fair
30 years.
amount, but I don't think it was 70.
Yeah.
Also, what would have happened if they just donated $70 million to suicide prevention?
Right. That's a really good point.
I don't know, guys. I had the $70 million. Army of the Dead, the newest Zack Snyder movie just came out. And I think it's reported like $90 million just to make that from scratch. I have an honest question I really want to ask. What is the difference between Zack Snyder and Paul W.S. Anderson?
That's a great
Mila
question.
Jovovich.
One
that's
makes
a dig.
fun films.
Yeah, one makes enjoyable movies under 2 hours and for a quarter the budget, and the other one's Zack Snyder. And they have in Army of the Dead, there's a very similar joke to the one that got Monster Hunter banned in China. So
yeah.
spoiler alert for that. But that was the thing that kind of got me thinking about it. I was like, okay, yeah, Mortal Kombat made some money, and so Paul W.S., Event Horizon got some critical acclaim for being Hellraiser in space.
It is a great movie.
And then basically getting checks to make Resident Evil movies for the next 15 years. Is Zack Snyder kind of in that same thing, except he was given the DC universe?
I would say they tried to do that, yeah.
Mhm.
But it obviously didn't work.
Yeah. Well,
You can at least say that Snyder actually has an eye for visuals. Like, you can't point out one thing that Anderson has done that really sticks out in your mind, even if you don't like Snyder movies.
Blood
There's-
orgy.
yes.
there's just moments in Snyder movies that just really that catch your eye visually, even though it might be stupid as hell, but at least it's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a visual actor, and I'm sure, like, if I were watching 2011's Three Musketeers and they lingered on the Zeppelin with rotary cannons on it long enough, like, wow, this is a visionary thing. But I don't know. Yeah, Snyder's definitely a very, very visual artist, but
Mhm.
Am I the only one who sits there going, all right,
yeah,
come on.
Nope.
Wrap it up.
As somebody who went to film school and like really focused in on editing, Snyder films drive me crazy.
yeah.
I did not go to school for editing, and I'm like, I could take an hour off of this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Give me a VHS.
He doesn't. This is the problem with most directors: is he does not have an editor who will stand up to him. Quentin Tarantino had his editor for years, and then she passed away. And those last 2 or 3 movies that he's made have just become kind of these bloated things. Spielberg's editor that worked on Jaws, and she worked with him on a lot of films. He kept wanting to make it bigger, and she was like, "No, we got to cut." And Snyder just doesn't have that.
Are you saying that he has so much money that nobody on his team tells him no?
Well, and that being said, we're talking about the Snyder Cut. Is it better than the original Justice League? Absolutely. I have an idea of what's going on. Does it need to be 4 hours? 3 is probably good, but
Here's the better question though, Steve. Did you miss the Russian family?
no. Wait, by the way, let me rephrase that. What Russian family? I don't even remember a whole lot about Justice League. I could have got done without the Icelandic chick singing or whatever. That was kind of a.
If you cut out every
Uh,
piece of slow mo and every like musical montage, that
nice
movie's
and pretty.
45 minutes.
Yeah, good, nice and sweet.
There's somebody did a count, and there's over 50 minutes. I think it's like 53 minutes of slow motion in this movie.
It's 10%.
And then there's the musicals.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I think this movie borderlines on a musical because plot points are pushed forward via music.
Well, and
And sweater
a lot of
sniffing.
the new music that was added just doesn't feel like it fits in with the story
I like
at all.
the score better. I like Junkie XL, but I didn't think that the score for the Snyder Cut was any better.
Yeah.
No.
I like Elfman personally.
That Wonder Woman theme that kept coming back was like so annoying. Oh my god! No! Not the Wonder Woman theme from the Wonder Woman from Batman versus Superman and Wonder Woman. I'm talking about the theme that Junkie put in there of that.
Yeah.
No,
This should have been in Wonder Woman 84.
that was really bad.
No. But another thing I really like about Snyder Cut, Cyborg. I like that he's in the movie.
Yeah, I was about to
Much
say
better.
all the characters that I wanted and was angry weren't in the original one, or all the ones they added in. And I'm like, just make a movie about them.
We'll
Actually,
definitely-
put up the comment
we'll get
from
to
Mike
that.
really quick.
Oh.
From Mike Trong.
Which one?
The one under the, actually the first one about the using some of the money for CGI. Because I got that I think makes a good point. But I actually agree with the fact that they made Cyborg look like that. Yeah, I brought action figures to a panel. Who knew? That they made him look rough and unfinished, because not only was it, an invasive attack on his body that he hadn't learned how to control, it was, something new and alien. And I like the fact that he didn't look Teen Titan smooth and shiny and slick, but that he was kind of busted up looking, and was like, can you fix that? Can you do something about that? Which they did by the end of the movie. But the fact that he had to actually accept it, which we actually got a story where we could actually see his progression of accepting what became of him after the accident. And the fact
Yeah, but
that
I
he actually
think
had a storyline in the Snyder Cut was, brilliant.
It's more of a problem of what I think he's referring to is that it still looks unfinished, as
It did.
the quality, like where it's on his face, and you're just like, it looks like they haven't rendered enough of it.
And I thought, for me, it added to the fact that he was still fighting, Victor was fighting it. So I think that may have been an actual conscious choice to make it still look kind of crappy.
Interesting.
I was a little bit sad that they didn't add in a little of the Teen Titans Go like Cyborg, in that like he doesn't because he's still a teenage kid, like he's a teenager still. He didn't use any of his powers to just order a bunch of pizzas or something like a teenager genuinely would, with full access to everything electronic. Like a little something like that just would have added a little bit more charisma to the character.
And another
now
5 minutes.
downloading all
He's a
four.
very dour character in the Snyder Cut.
So he's a Snyder character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, that brings us to the big question, you guys. Was it successful? Do you think it was worth it? I read an article in Time magazine that says, until recently, Warner Brothers had no motive to release a version of Justice League that sets up future sequels that will never manifest. But those calculations changed with the pandemic, as the company became reliant on its streaming service, HBO Max, rather than on theatrical releases. Debuting the Snyder Cut on a streaming service would create buzz and recruit subscribers. Greenlighting films based on fan campaigns may sound like a democratic way to make movies, but in reality, the power is not with the people, but with a small, loud contingent of fans willing to spew hatred. The Snyder Cut, new and improved as it may be, is the latest reward for their bad behavior. But, and as Tracy pointed this out, also perhaps the inevitable conclusion of a saga set amid an industry in which money talks louder than even trolls. Money, of course, can also talk in the form of box office receipts, which is why, following the success of Wonder Woman and Black Panther, we're now set to see more of Harley Quinn and a Black Superman movie. If cash is going to set the agenda, let's hope that agenda at least moves us forward rather than treading in place. And then just to give you guys some numbers, Forbes did like a breakdown of the number of subscribers that HBO Max got from this. And The weekend that the Snyder Cut came out, they got 1.48 million new downloads, which was a 64% increase for them. So, however, bending over backwards to be fair, let's presume that all 1.48 million new downloads were also new paying subscribers. At $14.99 a pop, that's a monthly haul of around $22 million for a film that cost AT&T an extra $70 million to complete. Will all of these newbies keep their subscriptions over the next 12 months? That's certainly what everyone hopes as Warner Brothers releases geek-friendly movies like Godzilla, Mortal Kombat, Space Jam, Suicide Squad, Dune, and The Matrix 4 between now and Christmas. If so, then best case scenario is that Zack Snyder's Justice League brings or contributes to around $266 million in annual revenue. Now, there are a bazillion caveats to all of this, and Forbes goes on to explain in the article all these different caveats. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys think it was successful? Did you guys keep your HBO subscription?
We still got ours.
Yeah. By the way, guys, Oz is still on there, and it's still super poignant and still has phenomenal characters.
Just waiting for Dune to not come out on HBO Max, though.
I've had HBO for a long while, so it didn't change anything for me. And from what I understand, most people didn't even finish the damn movie.
Right.
So, and much like Netflix, we will never know what these numbers are,
Right.
and we will never understand how much goes into what, and whether or not they were really tout how great the reception was. When Warner Brothers has said numbers, they've kind of said, look, Godzilla versus Kong was our most watched movie since the app and stuff like that. But they have not said anything about the Snyder Cut. And most of that other information is kind of third-party software. So it doesn't sound like it moved the needle at all.
That was interesting. That was one of the things the Forbes article pointed out, is it said that the third-party people are able to see who turned on the app, but they aren't able to see what they did with it.
True.
And so, like you said, the majority of them probably didn't finish the movie or took them a long time to finish it.
Yeah, the report is that like 65% of people who started it didn't finish it. I don't know how you can watch a 4-hour movie in this day and age, even at home, in one sitting. That's rough. That's a lot to ask from somebody. I had to break it up into 3 or 4 chunks.
Me too. I took a nap in one during two of the parts.
So, well, I'm gonna argue the other side. We ended up getting HBO because of all the releases. Like, we got it, I guess, for Snyder Cut because that came out first, and then
No, we got it for Wonder Woman.
Oh, that's right, we got it for Wonder Woman. But yeah,
for the 6 months.
So somebody like if something interesting like that brings people in, even if they don't end up watching it, but it's sort of like, hey, we came for Snyder Cut, but we stayed for Big Love. It's still technically successful because that's what got them to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, Big Love was going to be there anyway. Now someone's actually using it for the other month. They get the $14.99 plus tax or whatever, and I mean, the real sign of financial success is when they greenlight Justice League 2, Electric Boogaloo, or whatever the next in the DC universe.
The Wrath of Martha.
Yeah, the Green Lantern reboot, the Black Superman.
That's saddening.
Here's the thing, though. Like, a lot of these movies are going to start coming out on theaters now. So, do we really need HBO Max? HBO Max doesn't really bring a ton of original content. It's just been kind of a placeholder for DC to put their stuff while we are in this pandemic.
Well, didn't Discovery just kind of buy it and stuff too? So now that could become one super conglomerate. So you can watch Love It or Lease It, then follow it up with Batman Returns,
and then end the night with some Ghost Adventures.
So good.
That's a lot of
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, but I just don't know if it's going to do a lot for long-term success. When you've got these big releases during a pandemic, sure, it's going to do fairly well. But for DC movies that haven't necessarily been as consistent, I don't know if it's a place that I would necessarily stay to keep watching that content over and over again, like I would with some of the Marvel movies.
Well, alternatively, wasn't HBO Max also kind of pushed out from the DC universe model, kind of chasing Marvel and Disney Plus
Yeah.
as a streaming app. They're like,
Everybody
Marvel and Disney are making all kinds of money with this. We can do the same thing.
Right.
Next
To
year.
be fair, Trolls 2 set the trend for that. So, kudos to Netflix.
Well, if Dune comes out for an extra, the $30 or whatever for premium access, when they decide to release in theaters, am I just going to watch it at home? Yeah, I could probably do that. I pony out an extra $30. If it's Trolls 3, Trolls in space, probably not.
And we should note that, like, for people like us, we live 40 minutes from our nearest theater.
Yeah.
So going to see a movie is really kind of an all-day event for us.
Right.
And I know that we're like in the minority, but there are a fair amount of people who live not in city centers. So going to a theater is a big deal. And, it's like, do I want to go? Like, do I want to go in almost an hour into town, probably get dinner or lunch or something, and then sit in a packed theater? Or do I want to watch it on my couch with my surround sound on my HD TV?
And pause for bathroom breaks.
Right?
Yeah. I really think it depends on the movie. The Kondrick that's coming out first part of June. I'll probably check it out on HBO Max. I'm not going to go to the theater for that. Suicide Squad, I'll go to a theater and see it on a big screen. Dune, definitely seeing that thing on a big screen.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of depends on the film that's being released.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fast 9's a big screen.
Honestly, I'm hoping that the streaming services is going to bring back the mid-budget movie, because those have sort of disappeared.
Yeah.
We have huge budget movies that you do go. We're going to go see Dune. We want the big sound. We want the experience. I miss the mid-budget movies because that's where a lot of like creative stuff happened. That's where a lot of actors you don't see all the time would get to go be leads and stuff that they're not. Ernie Hudson was never going to be a lead in a $1 billion film, but he is in like Congo.
Yeah.
Which we love.
I think a lot of that is going to be on the TV shows that are going to be on these streaming services.
Yeah.
I think that's where your mid-budget's going to go.
I really liked this. I really liked this question in the comments. They said, do you think this movement will give directors more autonomy from the control of movie studios?
No. I think this is going to make them crunch down.
If they can keep the budgets down, then you can kind of keep the movie studios out of it for the most part.
But doesn't the Snyder Cut kind of prove that right? Mm-hmm. It cost them a lot of money. It, in our eyes, wasn't successful. This director got away with it. So why this time did it happen, do you guys think? I think it's an interesting thought.
I think it was a perfect storm.
Yeah. The timing with the pandemic.
If this happened without the pandemic, I don't think it would have happened.
No.
I think it would have been one of those fabled Snyder cuts that people talk about in hushed tones at the at geek conventions when we get together. But it wouldn't have seen the light of day. They wouldn't have put more money into it. But everybody's chasing Disney Plus, everybody's chasing Netflix, and HBO Max needed to try and get something that would cause a stir and get attention. Did they get it? I don't think they got it, but it gave them something.
They were shooting for Tiger King.
Exactly.
They had a movie that was technically already in the can. So all they needed to do was finish the visual effects. Versus when at the time when there was absolutely no movies being filmed because of the pandemic. So it was kind of like that was kind of an easy one for them.
It's interesting that you say easy though, because I don't think in terms of effort, yes. In terms of financial investment, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it for HBO to do that. A streaming service that's trying to get off the ground, starting $70 million in debt.
Yeah, but it could have kickstarted the entire franchise again. Like the cinematic universe could have been restarted, and they're like, "Oh, maybe we just got to give him all the autonomy because he made us $1 billion somehow with HBO Max or whatever." So it's like, yeah, here's your Green Lantern movie. Here's all the other stuff. But yeah, that doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. But it was worth a shot when you're going up against like Host being like the big movie that came out at the time because it was shot for $20,000 during the pandemic and was getting all the eyes on it on Shudder of all things.
Right.
And wasn't the original statement that all they had to do was a little bit of post-production work on the Snyder version as opposed to all of the reshoots they wound up doing as well?
Yes.
So it's like,
rumor was
you've got this in the can. Don't go and spend, do all this other stuff. Give us the movie that you've already got and move on. But we got 2 more hours, or we got whatever number of hours of additional footage and special effects out of that, and an even worse looking Steppenwolf.
Even worse looking Steppenwolf. No.
I think that
I wish they
if you
just
had,
replaced Steppenwolf with Steppenwolf.
But he had the jingling thingies all over,
Let's just replace him with Steppenwolf, the band.
Yeah.
Ian, what were you going to say?
so the
Drastic improvement right there.
the reshoots were
So what we were
only
told was
the ending, so that
The nightmare.
the nightmare sequence is the only thing that they reshot, and maybe the sequence of Martian Manhunter walking out of the apartment. Other than that, it was all already filmed, so they didn't need to do anything else. But there's a big difference between finishing the effects for a movie that you've cut down to 2.5 hours versus fucking 4 hours. Sorry, my language.
And a lot of slow-mo.
Yeah.
Collin, you've been quiet. What have you been thinking about?
I don't know. I've got a lot of mixed feelings just about the film in general, and don't really. I don't know. A lot of the editing that was redone on it, and it just didn't. I kind of like the first film better. I don't know.
it's more entertaining. It's more entertaining.
Yeah,
It's more watchable.
I will stand by
watchable.
you with that. Actually,
it's a lot. It's a
I'm
lot
with Colin.
shorter of a film. Yeah, they didn't spend a lot of time on developing some of these other characters, but they should have had other movies for those characters before they even
100%.
started that.
100%.
I get they didn't want to be just like Marvel and feel like they're following their lead, but come
that's what we
on,
want.
there's a better way to develop these stories and these characters than just tossing up in a film and trying to give them these 15-minute story arcs, and then all of a sudden you're now doing this edit of the film and you've got 3 hours of just character development when you could have just done separate movies or done movie shorts or something to put these together.
And that got brought up when we talked about this on movies that make us. Is that when we talked about that, Tracy?
Yep.
And it frustrates me that is a critique, because I don't feel like that's Zack Snyder's fault. I feel like that's Warner Brothers' fault. I feel like that's executives' fault. I feel like they went to Zack Snyder and they were like, make us be cool like Marvel. And Zack Snyder's like, okay, this is my vision of this film.
Yeah.
And nobody liked it. And I don't know.
We want Flashpoint. What's a Flashpoint? I don't know. What's a mother box? Just make the movie. Yeah,
Well,
I
I
think
think
that
that goes,
happens.
part of that, I think, goes with Snyder is a very visual artist, and he's fantastic at making something look incredibly pretty. I mean, if you look at any of his movies, especially ones that he's been given, take this, put it on the screen, and make it look good, like 300 or Watchmen. He's very loyal and very, very sticks faithfully to the material. But if you're like, we want this kind of thing, and let him have a much freer hand with the direction and the story, you wind up with Man of Steel, which I did like, even though it's not my Superman, and Batman versus Superman, and this Justice League, where it's just kind of like, here's an idea, and we're just going to throw something at the wall and see what sticks, is what it felt like.
I've said this before. I feel like Warner Brothers hiring Snyder was to build the cinematic universe was the absolutely worst person to do it, because Snyder is interested in deconstructing superheroes, not in telling superhero stories. So he did that in Watchmen. He's done that in some other films. And that's what he tried to do with these films and these characters. You don't need to deconstruct Superman. You don't need to deconstruct all these characters. And I think that was a mistake from the very beginning in hiring him in order to bring this to fruition.
But is he Lex Luthor and he's just trying to destroy Superman?
I mean, gentlemen, I just had a revelation. Does Zack Snyder need Guy Ritchie's editor? Is this how we get like cohesive storytelling?
If you take the two movies and you edit them together, there's a decent movie in there. It's not going to be great, but it's going to be decent. And unfortunately, neither one really fits that.
Yeah, and both versions. I mean, I was expecting going into the Snyder Cut. I was expecting something completely different, but it actually has all the structural problems that the original had. So it still was a problem that it takes too long to introduce the concepts, and it takes too long to get to anything, and it still hinders on the fact that once Superman's revived, there's no point for the rest of them. Right. It still requires Batman to be useless unless he's has a gun or behind a vehicle with a gun. Mm-hmm. Like it's all still a problem, and none of that was fixed.
It's like Captain Marvel showing up at the end. There, I've said my piece.
Kind of, yeah. And I mean, I think that I would agree that the Whedon version, he did some stupid crap. There's some stuff in there that doesn't make any sense of why he reshot or put extra jokes in there. It didn't need to happen. Yeah. But he did put in a lot of smarter things in there. Like, for example, Lois Lane showing up when Superman gets resurrected. In the Snyder Cut, she just shows up on chance and stops the violence. But in the Whedon cut, he brings Lois Lane because he's like, this is my last resort and this is my plan. That is a Batman move. That is what something Batman would do.
Yep.
But again, like Tracy said, if you took the two movies and smushed them together and squeezed out all of the fluff, you could get a decent movie out of it.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing that I think is interesting is that critique that this movie is too long. Okay, because I don't think this movie was meant to be seen as a traditional film, right? Like, I wouldn't go watch the extended cut of Lord of the Rings and then be like, wow, that was really long. Like that. This movie is an extended cut. It is his cut. It is the director's cut. The point of this is to put as much of everything he did into this film. And yeah, it's long. It's long. It's really long. And it's at some points doesn't necessarily make sense. But the critique that this is long, I just can't buy that critique. I think that's a lame.
But
Blake's in for the sweater sniffing.
But was
scenes.
It actually like a extended release? Or was it, I really didn't like what Whedon did, so here's my film?
Well, the other thing is,
I never felt like it was bloated. I never feel like there's tons of stuff in Lord of the Rings that we could cut out. If they had added Tom Bombadil, maybe.
It all makes sense and has an exact point of why it's there.
Mm-hmm. So your critique is that this movie is bloated, not that it's long.
Both.
But it's both.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just forced content.
Yeah, it's a completed rough cut. It's a fully CG finished rough cut, and it didn't need to be that way. And first of all, he shot the movie knowing that it would be in theaters and pushing even to remotely 3 hours, which was probably going to be completely out of the question. So to buy into the narrative that he was like, oh, it was always meant to be 4 hours is like, no, it was not. Because even if you split this into two pieces, it would be two really bad movies.
Robert, just push
don't talk about Grindhouse that way. I love those movies.
Robert, just push your way in. Just go for it.
Even though he did, even if he went for 3 hours, he would have had both Infinity War and Endgame as here's why I want to make a longer movie. 4 hours, definitely not. But I mean, looking at Jenny Ray's comment about the Flash introduction and how terrible it was, that scene could have been cut in a third and removed all the creep factor out of it. And you still get the idea that he's really fast. Okay, cool. But there, I mean, there's, like I said, there's storytelling, and there's just like, this would just be cool to be in a movie. And it felt like there's a lot of this would be cool or this would look cool in scene. And I think that he just went with a lot of that.
Yeah, well, the flying hot dogs is not cool, especially in slow motion.
So phallic.
Did anyone else look at the new Flash and think, man, I never knew I wanted French Stewart to be the Flash? That's all I could think that whole scene. Man, this guy looks like French Stewart is the Flash. And who knew Harry could be the Flash?
Wow.
Oh my.
I would agree that scene I absolutely hated. I'm surprised about how many people I've pointed out that like it was their favorite moment, and I was kind of like baffled because I hate that he comes in onto the scene like a raving lunatic. I don't know if they're trying to make him autistic. I don't know if that was kind of the point. I don't know if he's supposed to be on the spectrum or not. But then it was like the whole setup of the physics on that were driving me crazy. She could have been going what 10, 20 miles an hour, hits a car, it flies up in the air. She's in the car. She's outside of the car. She's screaming, but then she's all like angelic. I'm about to die. And then you have the phallic hot dog.
Okay. It's interesting you say people like that part because that's my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. It demoralizes women, and it has the fastest character going slow-mo, which in my mind just makes him regular speed. And it shows us that French Stewart can't run.
Here's why I liked that part, okay? And Izzy, you kind of brought this up when you said, I wish Cyborg had been Teen Titans like. That's exactly what someone would do with superpowers would do.
Yeah.
They would be like, they would like walk around and be like, okay, this just happened. I don't really know what to do. I'm an awkward kid. This is a pretty girl.
Yeah.
I guess I'll do the best I can to save her. And then while he's doing it, he's like, oh yeah, I also have a job interview. I should grab this hot dog.
Yeah.
To me, that was
a hair touch scene. The whole I'm gonna touch your hair.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So
I
will go with you on this, that the Flash in that scene makes him the most relatable character, and sort of he's as hard as it is to say, that's the most fun character in this movie. There's no fun in this movie.
No.
And for me, comic books should be fun. I, didn't have all of the comic books. I didn't have, I don't have Flashpoint and all of that. I know that there's like whole dark universes, but I feel like comic book movies should have elements of fun. That's why like Spider-Man is one of everybody's favorite movies, because it's fun until they get to the third one where he always just starts crying no matter what iteration.
Okay, you know what else is one of somebody's favorite movies? The Dark Knight, and that's not a fun film.
Yeah, Batman in general. Yeah.
But Batman's not supposed to be that character.
I don't know, guys. As an aging billionaire playboy, I kind of personify with Bruce Wayne and Batman. So there are some of us out there.
I completely agree with this comment.
I liked Flash better in the Whedon cut.
I agree.
I liked Cyborg better in the Snyder cut.
I agree. Him helping people, not helping people go up the stairs. What the hell? What does the Flash do? Like, does he has no purpose. He's not helpful in any way. He's just, everybody move faster. And it's like, the Flash moves people all the time. He could have saved everybody. And in the Whedon version, he actually does.
Right.
He saves people in the Snyder cut.
I missed
one person, one girl.
There's a scene where like the building is falling and he grabs everybody out of the way.
Yeah, he
like moves all the materials and stuff.
No, he moves all the materials after he just watches them slowly go up the stairs. That's my point. It's like he could have gotten them out of there himself. He could have done all the work.
But again, I think that adds to his character in that he doesn't know how to be a superhero yet.
But we don't know.
The words of Mr. Kent.
Exactly, we don't know that, so that's where it's at fault.
That's
I totally agree with you on that part.
Well, and that
we need a Flash movie.
Is made to seem like it's I don't know, like his like he's never seen anything like it before, but like he has.
Yeah, he built a whole suit.
Yeah.
He's done something. Like he's part of something. Like he didn't build that suit for no reason.
No. He got on Reddit. He downloaded the specs.
Okay. We've got like 5-6 minutes left, and I thought of a fun question that I wanted to ask everybody to kind of end out the panel. Okay, if you guys could pick a movie to have it get redone, but not like remade, but redo it the way this got done, what movie would you guys want to see? And for me, Spider-Man 3, because that movie was horrible, and I feel like somewhere there was like good intentions and
Right.
something bad happened. And I don't know the history behind that movie, but I feel like Spider-Man 3 killed the Spider-Man franchise, and it would have been so much cooler if something cool had happened. So that's my answer. So what do you guys think? What do you guys have to say?
I have nothing to say. I'll just leave it at this.
There you go.
There you go.
Green Lantern, baby.
I'll say nothing.
If I could throw one in there, I would love to see the extended director's cut of Event Horizon. Now,
Yes.
I know technically the film, because it was filmed back then, has probably been destroyed or whatever.
You want the full blood orgy?
Yes, right. Also, if there's an extended cut of Congo out there, please, let's get it on the Blu-ray. I really hate that the current Blu-ray only has the trailer. That's the only feature. We need commentaries from the director, Ernie Hudson, Joey Pants. Get Bruce Campbell in there. Get them all in there talking about, like, I don't remember much about this movie, but the check cleared. So.
This sounds like a great RemoteCon 3 panel.
Yeah.
I'm just
we
going to
go.
pitch that out.
I'm going to go with Rise of Skywalker because I felt like he completely tried to retcon what Rian Johnson did, and then he made his own huge continuity errors and questions, and that needed a redo.
Yeah, that was one that I thought of too, for sure.
I'll say, going off of that, redoing The Last Jedi.
Mm.
All the ideas in Last Jedi, all those ideas written down sound great. In execution, it was terrible. I'll leave it at that.
How about the original 2.5-hour version of Tiptoes? I'd like to see that out somewhere.
Oh, no.
Being cut down to like 85 minutes or whatever. I want to see more Gary Oldman as a little person.
Now, see, I was thinking, let's just actually release the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
Yeah, there we go.
It's the best one so far. Finish it.
It's on YouTube.
Look,
we have the
70
DVD.
million. Yes, we have the DVD. We've interviewed a bunch of the stars. Throw $70 million in special effects in that movie. Fantastic.
Call Snyder. Make it happen.
Jeez.
Colin, what do you got?
I'd love to see Green Lantern redone because that was just an absolute train wreck. And actually use Jon Stewart this time.
There you
It could
go.
have been so
There you
good.
go.
You're my new
Oh,
favorite.
The
Colin.
Daily Show?
Thank you.
Tracy, go away.
Weird.
That's a bold casting choice, but I'm
Oh,
okay with it.
boy.
I mean, I'm here for it. So, gentlemen, did you like what Deadpool did for? Was it Deadpool or Deadpool 2 did for Green Lantern?
I think I'm the only person in America that liked Green Lantern. I thought that movie was okay.
Right,
I
blink,
actually
blink.
not only saw it in theaters twice, I own the Blu-ray. I mean, it was a bad movie, but I'm a fan.
Ryan Reynolds, when like Justice League, when Snyder Cut came out, Ryan Reynolds tweeted that he watched it for the first time. He had never seen it himself, and he tweeted out at the end, he's like, "Guys, it wasn't that bad." His final assessment of it was like, "I don't know why you guys hate this movie so much."
Look, honestly, going in knowing really nothing about the Green Lantern, I was like, it's all right. It's not great.
The best thing I could say about the Green Lantern movie would be that it was a movie that you could take kids to, kind of like the 2005 Fantastic Four, and it's pretty safe. It's a superhero movie. I mean, Parallax was scary. Hector Hammond's head getting huge would be scary for some kids. But for the most part, you could take a kid to that movie, and they could go superhero and be happy.
And even the kid would be like, oh, so that Sinestro guy, is he going to be a bad guy?
Foreshadowing. It's okay.
Poor
Oh my
Green
gosh.
Lanterns. Y'all get nerfed in every movie.
Yeah.
Every
All right,
movie.
guys.
The Snyder Cut here. These
Wow.
Green Lanterns got knocked out like first. It was like, poo, 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 Green Lantern's gone.
They're taking out the biggest threats.
No, it was Martian Manhunter who was going to come in at the end the whole time.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, guys. Well, this brings us to the end of our panel. And as all great things must come to an end. Sadly, this panel does too. But not
At
before
least
we
the
give
Snyder
away our
Cut
raffle.
and Utah panel. 4 more hours.
No. Although I could probably spend 4 more hours talking about how much I didn't like it. But that's okay. We didn't even touch on the nightmare sequence.
We didn't.
No
Oh
need
my
to.
gosh.
It speaks for itself.
We didn't. We did not touch on that Steppenwolf gets beaten by Ares, who gets his butt kicked by Wonder Woman.
Uh-huh.
Don't fair, guys. I'm the only one in this panel that liked this movie.
Yep.
Still love and respect you, boy.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of this panel with us. We really appreciate it, and you guys helping support the event. We are $75 away from hitting $1,000. So,
All right.
please, if you guys can donate, we'd really appreciate it, listeners. And you'll be entered, of course, for our raffle, which for the prize for this panel was the Batman and Superman bobbleheads. And if you guys give me a drum roll, please, I will announce the winner, who is Nick Dietz. Congratulations, Jake.
Hey!
You did it. You won
Around
something.
applause.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And listeners, make sure to stay on for our next panel, which we will be talking about DC animation.
Bye,
See you guys
everybody.
then.